In this video, I'm going to walk through the steps for the introduction of Lab 2. In Lab 2, what you've done is you've gone out and you've gathered some points for business locations, and they're out there having been created in field maps. They're out there at ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to show you how to retrieve your data from ArcGIS Online. You can see I'm logged in there right now. Then I'm going to show you how to bring them into Arc and open up the other data files that you're going to need. There are different ways that you can find our data at ArcGIS Online, but what I recommend doing is going to groups once you log in. And if you haven't already, join the group for this semester. In this case, I'm demonstrating using Spring of 23. So within that group, you can find the content. And then, in this case, I'm using a demonstration of Lab 2 points. You'll find a very similar object within your group's version of this map. So here's Map Lab 2 Biz Survey. Rather than opening up that map and seeing what it looks like in ArcGIS Online, I'm just going to go straight to the data themselves by clicking the name of the file. And then when the file opens up, I'm going to say Export Data to Shapefile. Now what I'm doing here is just taking a version of this file and sending it out as a zipped up shapefile to my content folder. So it's saving it in my content folder at ArcGIS Online. It will do the same for you. Once you see it, you're just going to click download, and that is going to download this file wherever you tell it to. And once you download that file, you'll see it's zipped up. What you want to do is open it up and unzip it. I've created a folder for my stuff within Lab 2 Demo. And I'm just going to take these files and extract all of them to that folder. So I've created a folder called Lab 2 Demo. I recommend you create one called Lab 2. And if you do this more than once, which I recommend, I would say Lab 2 with today's date on it. Create a folder for the things that you create. It's easier to find things if you do that. So I'm just going to say extract. And now within that Lab 2 folder, I should see these objects. So now I'm going to switch over to ArcGIS Pro and find those things. I'm starting here from scratch as though I've just logged in because you're still getting used to this program. And what I want to show you is a few preliminaries. So I always click Start Without a Template, which is basically starting with a blank screen. And I like to first, before I do anything else, go to Catalog View. This allows me to interact with my data. I stress the importance of doing this yourselves because if you work in Catalog View, you get to know your files and your data and where things are stored. If you don't, then you're probably going to be a little bit lost about things. So I recommend early on, make sure that you get used to, first step, every time you start a new project, open up Catalog View and map your data. So here I'm mapping my Lab 2 Demo folder. Note, I'm mapping a folder, not a file. So I've clicked on this folder location, I say OK, and then everything within that folder is now available to me, namely that layer that I just created. Now, within this folder, notice I haven't opened a map yet, I can take a look at the properties of that file. So here I'm looking at the various data points that were collected by various people in Spring of 23 at different locations. Different business points that people gathered. What I'm going to do with these files is first project them so that they're ready for us to use in a map. And so I'm going to take these files and under the Analysis tab, click Tools and then find the Project tool. And I'm going to put these in state plane. I think it's a good habit to get into, is taking, when you get new data, check out their spatial properties. These we downloaded from ArcGIS Online, so they come in WGS84 Web Mercator. It's a special version of the Mercator projection that's based on the WGS 1984 datum. We're going to reproject that into our favorite projection, which is NAD 1983 datum, state plane for Maryland. And you'll notice that that is in my favorites folder. If you don't have it in your favorites folder, I recommend putting it there. Now, rather than just saying run, I'm going to click on this folder. I recommend always doing this so that you know where you're saving things. If you're not careful about it, you're going to end up saving it some random folder or geodatabase. I want to make sure that it's saving out to that same location that I saved to before, so I'm just going to drill down to that spot, which is Lab2 Demo. And I'm going to name this file BizPoints SP, meaning state plane. So when I see this file, I know that I've projected it into state plane. And I'm saving it to that same folder. So when I say run, I should see a new version of this file. There it is, BizPoints state plane. Now I'm going to right-click on BizPoints and say Add to New Map. So I'm going to drop these into a map. You'll notice the reason I put them in state plane first was so that the map is in state plane. Everything else that I do will automatically be in state plane unless I tell it to do something different. Now what I want to do is exploit the fact that spatial data have a dual nature. First, there's the stuff we see, and there's also other attribute information. By right-clicking on this and opening the attribute table, I can take a look at different properties of this file. One thing that's really important and helpful is everybody who created data. And so, for example, if I look at all the people, all the points created by, I've now selected 36 out of all the records gathered by all the students in this class. I've taken the 36 created by this one person, and they're now selected. If I right-click on this and say Data, and then Export Features, I can create a new shapefile that's just this person's points. And this is what you should do. Create a shapefile of your points. So I'm going to say Export Features. I'm going to click on the folder right here to make sure that I'm controlling where I send them. And I'm going to make sure to send them to my Lab2 Demo folder. I think I'd suggest naming them BizPoints _ your name. So BizPoints your name. And say OK, and then you'll have a new object that is just your points. Now you should do this with the points that you yourself created, and you're ready for the next step.